June 26, 1977, the Market Square Arena in Indianapolis. 8,500 people packed into every corner, every seat, every aisle. The air thick with anticipation, sweat, and that electric hum that only happens when thousands of hearts beat in unison, waiting for one man, Elvis Presley. But this wasn't the Elvis of the '68 comeback special. This wasn't the lean, leather-clad rebel who had redefined rock and roll. This was a different man, heavier, slower, fighting battles most of the audience couldn't. See, prescription bottles backstage, exhaustion etched into every movement, whispers in the industry that the king was fading. Yet, when those lights hit him, something still ignited. The crowd roared, cameras flashed. For a moment, it was 1956 all over again. He moved through the set list. CC Rider, I Got a Woman. The band tight, professional, rehearsed to the second. Elvis hit his marks. He smiled. He performed. But something was missing. Not in the music. In him. The years had carved themselves into his face. The jumpsuit, white and studded with rhinestones, hung differently than it used to. The voice, though still powerful, carried a rasp that hadn't been there a decade before. Every step seemed measured, every gesture controlled. As if he was managing energy he no longer had in abundance. The audience didn't care. They screamed, they cried, they held up signs. Some had been following him since the beginning, since the days of Ed Sullivan and scandalous hip movements. Others were younger, discovering the legend in real time, trying to catch a glimpse of the myth before it disappeared. Because everyone knew, even if they didn't say it out loud. Even if they pushed the thought away, everyone knew this couldn't last much longer. Then halfway through the show, something happened. A moment so brief, most people didn't even register it at first. Elvis stopped, mid-song. The band continued for a beat, then faltered, confused. The arena went quiet. 8,500 people held their breath. He wasn't collapsing. He wasn't sick. He was looking at someone, a young woman in the third row, tears streaming down her face. Not the screaming, fainting kind of tears that had followed Elvis for decades. These were different, quiet, desperate, real. If you've ever watched someone you admire, someone who gave you hope when you had none, slowly fade in front of your eyes, you know what those tears meant. She wasn't crying because she loved Elvis. She was crying because she was losing him, and somehow in that split second, Elvis saw her, really saw her. What do you do when you realize the performance isn't enough anymore? When the applause rings hollow and the smiles feel rehearsed? Do you keep going? Do you finish the show, collect the paycheck, move on to the next city? Or do you do something that changes everything? If you're starting to feel something shift in this story, something that goes beyond just another concert, just another moment in rock history, hit that subscribe button now, because what happens next isn't just about Elvis. It's about what we do when we're given one more chance to be who we were always meant to be. Elvis stepped away from the microphone. The band stopped completely now. Confusion rippled through the crowd. His manager, Colonel Parker, watching from the wings, stiffened. This wasn't in the script. This wasn't rehearsed. This was unpredictable, dangerous. Elvis walked to the edge of the stage, slowly, every step deliberate. His bodyguards shifted, unsure whether to intervene. The audience, sensing something unprecedented, went completely silent. You could hear the hum of the amplifiers, the creak of the stage floor under his weight. He knelt down, right there at the edge, and he reached out his hand to the young woman. She hesitated, disbelief frozen on her face. People around her nudged her forward. Go, go, this is real, this is happening. She reached back, trembling, uncertain, and Elvis Presley, the king of rock, and roll, in front of 18,500 people, held her hand. He didn't say anything at first. He just held it, firm, present, human. The cameras captured the moment, but they couldn't capture what it felt like, the electricity, the vulnerability, the sudden collapse of the barrier between performer and audience, between legend and human being. Then he spoke, quietly, just to her. The microphone didn't catch it, the cameras didn't zoom in close enough, but people near her heard it. "Thank you for being here. I needed to see you tonight. Not thank you for coming to my show. Not I appreciate the support." He needed to see her, because in that moment, she wasn't just a fan. She was a mirror, a reminder of why any of this ever mattered. Why a poor kid from Tupelo, Mississippi ever picked up a guitar in the first place. Not for the fame, not for the money, for connection. For the feeling that one human being could reach another and say, "I see you. You're not alone." He let go of her hand, stood up, walked back to the microphone, and he didn't return to the set list. Instead, he started singing "How Great Thou Art." If you know the song, you know it's a hymn, a gospel standard, not a rock and roll anthem, not a crowd pleaser designed to get people on their feet. It's a prayer, a confession, a surrender, and Elvis sang it like he was the only person in the room. His voice, worn and weathered from years of strain, somehow found a power that hadn't been there all night. The band followed. His lead, uncertain but committed. The backup singers, who had performed this song with him countless times, felt something different this time. They exchanged glances. Something was happening. As the first chorus swelled, something extraordinary began. The crowd started to cry, not just the young woman in the third row. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Grown men, teenagers, elderly couples who had followed Elvis since the beginning, all of them tears streaming, overwhelmed by something they couldn't name, because they weren't just hearing a song, they were witnessing a man lay himself bare. No persona, no performance, just Elvis, broken, tired, but still capable of touching something sacred. The arena had become a cathedral, the stage an altar, and Elvis, whether he intended it or not, was offering something more valuable than entertainment. He was offering himself, unfiltered, unprotected. When he hit the final note, the arena was silent. Not the stunned silence of confusion, the reverent silence of a moment too holy to interrupt. Then slowly the applause began, not wild, not frenzied, gentle, grateful, like the sound of rain after a drought. Elvis didn't showboat, didn't take a bow. He just nodded, once, wiped his face with a scarf, and moved on to the next song. But the energy in the room had shifted. The audience wasn't watching a legend anymore. They were sharing space with a man who had chosen, in one unscripted moment, to stop pretending, to stop hiding behind the myth, to just be. The rest of the concert continued, but it felt different. Every song carried more weight. Every interaction with the crowd felt more genuine. Elvis seemed lighter somehow, as if letting go of the script had freed something inside him. If this story is hitting differently than you expected, if you're realizing this isn't just about a concert, but about what it means to be human in front of people who expect you to be a god, do me a favor, hit that like button. Turn on notifications, because the next part of this story gets even more unbelievable. After the show, backstage, the usual chaos. Handlers, assistants, people congratulating Elvis on another successful performance. But Elvis was quiet, sitting in his dressing room, still in his jumpsuit, staring at nothing. One of his longtime friends, a member of the Memphis Mafia, asked him what happened out there, why he stopped, why he went off script. Elvis didn't answer right away. He took a sip of water, looked at his hands. Then he said something that wouldn't make sense until much later. "I saw myself in her, the me I used to be, before all this, before the pills, before the divorce, before the isolation, before the weight of being Elvis Presley crushed the boy from Tupelo who just wanted to make people feel something." His friend didn't push. He understood. When you've been a myth for so long, you forget what it feels like to be real. And sometimes it takes a stranger's tears to remind you. That young woman in the third row. Her name was Linda. She'd been battling depression for years. That night she'd come to the concert as a last attempt to feel something, anything, other than the numbness that had swallowed her life. She'd almost didn't go, almost stayed home, almost gave up entirely, but something told her to buy the ticket, to show up, to give the world one more chance to prove it was worth staying in. She later told a reporter that when Elvis held her hand, she felt seen for the first time in years. Not as a fan, not as a diagnosis, as a person, worthy of attention, worthy of care. She didn't know in that moment that Elvis was fighting his own war with darkness, that he understood her tears not because he pitied her, but because he recognized them. 2 months later, Elvis Presley was dead. August 16th, 1977. Graceland. The official cause, cardiac arrest. But anyone close to him knew the truth. The king had been dying for years, slowly, quietly, in plain sight. The news shattered the world. Fans gathered outside Graceland. Radio stations played his music non-stop. Tributes poured in from every corner of the globe. Presidents, musicians, actors. Everyone had something to say about the man who had changed music forever. But in Indianapolis, Linda heard the news differently. She remembered his hand, the way he looked at her, the quiet words he spoke, and she realized something that would stay with her for the rest of her life. Elvis Presley, in one of his final concerts, chose to stop everything, to step outside the script, to connect with a stranger who needed it more than she could ever express. And in doing so, he saved her life. It didn't save him. It didn't reverse the trajectory of his decline. But it saved someone else. Linda went on to seek help, to fight her way back, to build a life, and she carried that moment with her. The moment a stranger, a legend, saw her, held her hand, reminded her that even in the darkness, connection is possible. What does it mean when the most powerful thing you can do is stop? We live in a world obsessed with momentum. Keep going, keep grinding. Never let them see you struggle. The show must go on, but sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pause. Look someone in the eye, say without words, "I see you, you matter." Elvis Presley gave the world rock and roll. He shattered racial barriers in music. He became a cultural icon whose influence still echoes today. But in Indianapolis, he gave something smaller, more fragile, more human. He gave a moment, and that moment rippled. Linda told her story. Others who were there that night shared theirs. The footage, grainy and incomplete, circulated among collectors. Slowly, the legend of the Indianapolis concert grew, not because of the set list, not because of the production, because of what happened when the script fell away. There's a theory among those who study Elvis's final years, a theory that he knew, that somewhere deep in his bones, he understood his time was running out, and that Indianapolis was his way of saying goodbye, not to the world, to himself, to the person he used to be before the fame consumed him. Some dismiss this as romantic speculation, but those who were there, who felt the shift in the arena that night, believe it. They felt him let go. They watched him choose something different, and for 18,500 people, it became the defining moment of their lives. Not the music, not the spectacle. The moment Elvis stopped being a legend and became a human being reaching out to another human being in pain. If you're still here, still listening, still feeling the weight of this story, that means something. It means you understand that the hidden legacy isn't always the biggest moments. It's the small ones. The choices we make when no one's watching, or when everyone is, but we decide to be real anyway. Subscribe to The Hidden Legacy. Turn on notifications. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because stories like this deserve to be remembered, not as trivia, not as nostalgia, as reminders of what we're capable of when we choose connection over performance. Elvis didn't know he was dying, or maybe he did. Maybe that's why he stopped. Maybe he knew, somewhere deep down, that he wouldn't have many more chances to touch someone, to be more than the legend, to be the boy from Tupelo who believed music could heal. In the end, we're all just trying to be seen, to matter, to leave something behind that says, I was here, I cared, I tried. Elvis Presley left stadiums full of screaming fans, gold records, movies, a legacy carved in neon and rhinestones. But his greatest gift might have been a split-second choice to stop a concert, kneel down, and hold the hand of a stranger who needed to know she wasn't alone. 18,500 people witnessed it. Most of them didn't understand what they were seeing in the moment, but they felt it. The shift, the crack in the armor, the sudden, startling presence of something real. And in a world built on illusion, reality is the rarest gift of all. The concert ended. The lights came up. People filed out slowly, reluctant to leave. They didn't know they had just witnessed one of the last times Elvis Presley would perform. They didn't know that in 2 months the king would be gone. But they knew something had happened, something unrepeatable, something sacred. Linda walked out of the arena that night a different person. She still struggled. Recovery isn't linear, but she had proof now. Proof that connection was real, that even in the darkest moments, someone could see you, someone could reach out. Years later, she became a counselor. She dedicated her life to helping people who felt invisible, who felt like giving up, and she told them the story of the night Elvis Presley stopped a concert to hold her hand. Some believed her, some didn't, but those who did understood. They understood that salvation doesn't always come from grand gestures. Sometimes it comes from a stranger who stops, looks you in the eye, and chooses to be present. Elvis's legacy is complicated, brilliant and broken, triumphant and tragic. But in Indianapolis, for one night, it was simple. He saw someone, he stopped, he cared, and that was enough to change everything. Thank you for being here, for listening, for letting this story matter to you. If it moved you, if it changed how you see legacy, heroism, or even just the small choices we make every day, let us know in the comments. Subscribe to The Hidden Legacy. Hit that like button. Turn on notifications. And when the video ends, don't just scroll away. Watch the videos that pop up on your screen. There are more stories like this, more hidden moments that changed everything. Because the world doesn't need more legends. It needs more humans willing to stop, look someone in the eye, and choose connection. Elvis did, just once, at the end, and it was enough.